we just know that the name of the victim and that he was shot dead. But this is just a murder, so this is not that serious to the Toronto police.
Daniel, thank you very much for speaking to ANI in a very short notice. I'll begin by quickly asking you, two Indian students were found murdered in Canada in a fortnight. What do you know about the matter? What is the Canadian police doing about it? The consulate has expressed anguish over it. What have you learned about this matter so far?
Okay, so I mean, the two murders are probably not connected because they're in different provinces, more than a day's drive away from each other. So, the most recent murder in Toronto, if we know it's a murder, we just know that the name of the victim and that he was shot dead. We don't know why, who, what, when, how. So, to this most recent murder, the public knows next to nothing about it other than there is a murder. So if you're wondering what the police are doing, I mean, they're probably looking into it, but this is Canadian police. So I expect extreme incompetence. And if this was a mean comment online about, a government official that was not white, the person might be in jail for 50 years. But this is just a murder, so this is not that serious to the Toronto police. They will fumble it, and if they don't manage to fumble it and they find the person responsible, they would be put in jail for maybe a maximum of 3 years before being let out to rampage the streets again. So that's what the police is up to.
Mhm. Daniel, how does it, this incident has also raised concerns about safety of Indian students in Canada, because we have seen some incidents in the past as well. What is your comment on that? And also, there was a report that an Indian man died of suspected cardiac arrest after waiting for more than 8 hours. He was waiting for a treatment in hospital. So what does these things tell you about the situations of Indian nationals in Canada?
Well, okay, these two things are completely unconnected. Okay, so to go to the hospital, and this is what every Canadian. This is not an Indian discrimination. This is socialized medicine and the Canadian healthcare system not being updated to handle. I mean, we are a country of 30 million people. At the beginning of Trudeau, we're now a country of 40 million people, mostly through direct migration. Which say what you will about that, but one of the things we should have done is if we had hospital services that were still failing and understaffed and underworked at 30 million, we should have increased capacity. We did not increase capacity in the medical field. The only people we added into the medical field in the last 10 years are bureaucrats to pretend we're adding more medical fields. So we've just made the problem even worse by swamping a giant bureaucracy onto a mass problem. So that's why people are dying in hospitals. And that's not now. Now, to the safety of Indian students in general, I don't think the problem with Canada is that it's unsafe as of yet, unless you like get into, gang warfare, which is another problem brought up by some migration problems. But in terms of safety, Canada's still a relatively safe country. Um, I think, I've been to India. I've driven on the roads there. I think you're more likely to die in a car crash on an Indian highway than you are to die in a homicide, most places in the world. So, in terms of safety, I think the safety risk is not really what we're talking about. I mean, you're talking about more a climate of discrimination that's growing, and that's a problem, right? Because most Indians, if they would come here, would not be murdered and shot dead. And if that's your line for safety, then it's whatever. But are things getting a little bit more uncomfortable socially in Canada, especially as it goes for immigrants, particularly Indians? Yes, yes. There's a rising culture of, yeah, anti-Indian sentiment being pushed by a lot of different factors. Some of them you're familiar with in India, but yeah, I don't think safety is the big problem we're talking about. Although this is Canada and it is less safe than it was 20 years ago when it was an incredibly safe country. Now it's just a pretty safe country instead of a very safe country.
Mhm. Daniel, just one more question talking about those Indian students dying. How does this incident fit into the broader context of violent crime in Toronto this year? And are police or city officials offering any insight into trends or patterns that might help the public understand the risk?
No, the police offer no insights of value whatsoever. And this is sort of, yeah, this is the slow decline of the Canadian institutions where, a shooting 20 years, 15 years ago would have been massive, massive news, but now we're growing more accustomed to homicide in the city and in the country. So that's unfortunate. And what are the police doing? The police are a big part of it too, through either negligence. Some of the police officers are good, but again, the police boards and the politics around policing, we've sort of imbibed this sort of depolicing strategy. So the Canadian theory of policing says that crime comes from racism, and police cause racism. So when you have crime in certain areas, the answer is not to use police to stop crime. It's actually to blame the police, take the police away, and enable just because the police are causing racism with racial profiling and all the ridiculous things that they come up with in a university classroom. But essentially to say, after 10 years of Trudeau, this has turned the country much, much less safe. So the police are demoralized. The good police are demoralized. The bad police have been moved to positions of power, and they're ideologically captured by nonsense theories. So what are the theories they're putting out towards the public? Probably something along the lines of racism causes violence. So let's reduce racism with some sort of HR sensitivity training at a government workplace. And if you say, is that going to reduce crime in Canada? The answer is no, it's not. But we're going to continue to. We're not, I don't think anyone believes it, but we're going to continue to push it because again, it's quite lucrative for the people who get the contracts to do that, and most of them are involved in the Liberal Party in some way. So that's sort of what we're doing with the crime. We're doing nothing productive about the crime. There will be continuing to crime. It will get worse. It's not as bad. It's not like a slum in Bangladesh where you got to fight your way to the top. It's still a first world country, but it is on a downward trend in terms of safety. But it's not at like, you're safer in Canada than you are in the border of India and Pakistan. Dancing between those two armies.